Welcome to the Riding in the Weeds podcast, where we tackle life's inevitable challenges, from navigating mountain bike trails to overcoming business hurdles and forging deeper connections with pets and people. It's easy to find yourself tangled in the weeds, but we're here to help with insights and strategies that'll get you out of the weeds. Our goal is to boost your performance in both sports and everyday life by sharing essential skills that we've learnt along the way. Through tales of our entrepreneurship journey, thrilling biking adventures, and fostering meaningful relationships, your hosts, Natasha, Lockey, and Ginny, Branden, will guide you on a journey that's not only enjoyable, but also inspiring. Join us to gain confidence that you need to navigate the trails of life. Hello and welcome to episode 61 of Riding in the Weeds. Today, we are talking about, does it need to be hard for it to work? What do we mean by that? If you're not pushing it to your limits, you're not going to get the result that you want, or at least it's going to take a lot longer. So if we go really hard and we push it, then we're going to get whatever it is we're looking for faster. What we're going to explore today is that true? So we're just going to dive right on in. This episode is for you if you are somebody who is always doing it the hard way because you think that by doing it the hard way, you're going to get there faster. And really what you notice is that that's actually slowing you down. So let's dig in and let's chat about this. Ginny, what are your thoughts? I know you've got lots on this. Let's just go with the straight up question. Does it need to be hard for it to work?
My short answer is no. That's the quick and dirty answer right there. In my opinion, it's no. So, I don't know. Where do you stand on the issue?
Well, I'm just going to throw it right back on you. I'm not going to give you an answer on that just yet, but I'm going to be the devil's advocate, and I'm going to say, okay, so no. Yeah, but if I'm not pushing myself, surely I'm not getting anywhere. If I'm running a race and I need to get to the finish line, I need to run really fast in order to get there. So how come that's not going to work in other areas of my life? If I want to make my business really successful, surely if I just do like a year of all-nighters, is that not going to mean that I'm going to make a lot of money? Seems logical.
I mean, you could make a lot of money at that point, but the challenge is that when we do that to ourselves, we end up in burnout and we end up flatlining at some point and completely killing ourselves. That's not okay. So to use your race example, you didn't just suddenly wake up that morning and decide to go run a race and decide to go run as fast as you can, as hard as you can, to get to the finish line as quickly as possible. There's an awful lot of preparation that goes into that. And the fact that the no pain, no gain thing is so ingrained in our culture, the hustle culture, that idea of just pushing to the max as hard as you can, I don't think it's how we're designed, really, is the way I would go so far as to say it. I don't think we're designed to work that way. And every time I have chosen not to work that way, I know my gains are always greater. And I will say that with the caveat that that doesn't mean that you never push. And that doesn't mean that you're not working hard. You can't sit on your bum eating bonbons and win the race. That doesn't work either. So the phrase that I've adopted for myself is that I want to look for the short-term discomfort that's going to give me the long-term gain. Because you have to be in discomfort. This has been said before. Many episodes, we have said this over and over again. You have to be uncomfortable in order to grow in any way, in any area of your life that you're aspiring to grow. So personal development, working with your pets, biking, riding horses, business, relationships, whatever else you want to list. You have to be uncomfortable in order to grow. But there's a limit to the point at which that discomfort is productive and then tips over the edge into being unproductive and will cause you harm or some kind of long-term damage, or your learning will basically just regress at that point. So there's a happy medium in there.
Yeah, I think those are all really, really good points. And what I really liked about what you said is actually the whole point about the fact that you just didn't get up one morning and run the race. The last year, I was off my bike for 5 months with a broken wrist. And then there was a race fun ride that was happening in Todos Santos in Mexico. And I was like, I want to go and do this. I think it'd be really good for us to be part of this community event. And Ian's like, sure, let's do it. And so I'm like, well, we should go for a bike ride before this. Make sure that I can actually ride my bike. And so we went for a fairly short ride, and yeah, okay, it was fine. I wasn't going to be in like extreme pain the whole time. And so then we jumped on our bikes and we rode 38 kilometers. And yeah, we've got e-bikes, so we've got motors, but we also thought that there were people in front of us. So we were trying to keep up. We thought we were like not mid-pack, but we thought we were like behind the leaders, and we thought there was at least half a dozen people or so on regular bikes in front of us. So we're trying to keep up with these people on regular bikes that are in front of us. And we legitimately got to the end of the race, and we were like, we'd found another e-biker along the way because we kind of got lost and didn't know where we were going. And we ended up being like riders 2, 3, and 4 that came in at the end. And the guy who came in first, he was on a regular bike and he kicked our asses by, I don't know, 20 minutes or something.
Wow.
It was impressive. But he had the same thing. He thought that someone was in front of him. So he was like, oh, I'll just keep going. And yeah, so we don't know where all these people that were in front of us went, but there was nobody in front of us. And then the other day, we haven't paddled our boat for a couple of years. And there was a boat race. It was a 14-kilometer race around the island. And so we went and made sure our boat floated. And then we got in our boat and we paddled 14 kilometers around the island. I will say it was very calm. The tide and the currents were very gentle. I definitely carried us because Ian, his battery kept running out in the back there. It's not a battery on our boat. But I did not stop paddling for an hour and a half. And every once in a while, he thinks he paddled between 1/3 and 2/3 of it, depending on who he's telling the story to. That it was every once in a while we'd be going really fast. And I was like, man, if we were going this speed the whole time, we'd be winning this race. However, that all being said, we're not sitting on the couch eating bonbons the rest of the time. So it's not like we hadn't done anything. It's not like we're not active human beings. So getting up and going and doing a bike ride, yeah, we were a little sore afterwards. We were a little tired, but wasn't that big of a deal because we do other activities. We do other stuff. And so I really do hear you when you say if you've not done anything and you just get up off the couch and you go super hard on anything, any discipline, any part of life, you're probably going to hit the wall the next day or a couple of days later. And so,
Yeah.
yes, I agree. Like you cannot just go, 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 go. I wrote a post about this on Facebook the other day, and by the time I got to the end of the post and I got to the biking example, I was like, yeah, okay, I know the answer to this. And maybe I should just take my biking wisdom and apply it to all these places where I'm not challenged enough. So therefore, I'm clearly not getting the result fast enough. But maybe that's been the mistake I've been making with a lot of things in my life over the years.
Well, what's important about that, I think, is that we have to recognize that sometimes we're only going to find that edge by going over it. That's how we're going to figure out that we push too hard, too fast, trying to make some kind of progress in whatever area of our life that it is. And that's what sort of mystifies me. Like we said, this is such an ingrained part of our culture that this is such a normal way to function that I don't think people recognize the damage that they do when they function this way. But I talked to so many friends and they're like, oh yeah, I went to the gym and it was leg day and I can't walk now. I'm like, you hurt yourself. That's an injury. That's not progress. Like, yes, I completely understand the science between needing to break down your muscle fibers to a certain extent in order to build more muscle. The problem is when you go too far, the next time you try to do that, your body will actually recoil away from whatever it was. And now you have to regain that amount plus the work that you had already gained the last time you injured yourself. And so now you're behind the eight ball further from where you actually started. It's like the 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. That doesn't sound very efficient to me. And that's not really the way that I want to work. And so I have found for my body, and then I found this applies pretty much everywhere in my life, that when I find my edge of discomfort and the edge of effort, that's where I need to stay and not go over it. If I go over it, I'm crossing into the line of injury. I'm crossing into the line of too much work that's going to set me backwards before I can go forward again. And so staying in that sweet spot, there's the whole idea of the 80-20 rule, right? Like, I think you could say it's somewhere between 60% and 80% is probably the sweet spot for being able to make those gains. If you only have a 60% or less success rate on whatever you're doing, you're probably failing to the point where you're not making any gains. It's too hard. Your mind is going to avoid doing it because you're failing at that point. But if it's so easy that you're over 80% success, what are you gaining at that point? What knowledge are you adding? What growth are you adding? What muscle are you adding? What skill are you adding? So somewhere in that middle between 60 and 80% is probably the sweet spot of being able to make progress with discomfort so that you can still continue to make gains without having to backtrack.
Yeah, I love all of that. And if I think about my workout right now, it's quite funny because I'm doing this 5 and 5, and it's 5 minutes. There's 5 different modules, and one's not super hard. It pushes and then it comes back. But by the time I get to the 5th one, I'm literally like, I hate all these exercises. They suck. You want me to lie down and stand up again? I don't want to do that. Which tells me that until the point where I am like, cool, recovery exercises, lie down and stand back up again. This is easy. I'm in that 60 to 80% mark. And the same thing with Duolingo. I cannot get 2 stars in the rapid review pretty much ever unless I pay for a timer boost, and I refuse to pay for a timer boost because that to me is cheating on that whole 60 to 80% range. I cannot answer those questions, and I can't do the words either. I run out of time because I can't get the answers fast enough to get those stars. So like whatever, those are extra exercises, don't do them. But but if I'm saying I'm always getting 80 to 90% in the exercises in Duolingo, so therefore it's too easy, really, I'm lying because I'm not doing the ones that force me into that place where I'm not able to get that. And then if we come into biking, my solid hard and fast rule is that if you can't do 75% of a trail, you should not be on that trail, because that 25% that you can't do is all in the realm of possibility. And you can see, oh, I need to do XYZ in order for me to succeed at this thing. Oh, I need to go and practice my corners on an easier trail and come back and try these ones again. You can see what skills you need to improve on in order for you to come back and do it. As soon as you drop down from that 75%, everything outside of that, that's in the I don't know how to do it and I'm failing, which exactly as you just said, it leads to bad habits, leads to bad form, and most importantly, it leads to a really bad mindset, because then you start to feel like a failure. Then your confidence starts to dip. Then you're like, I can't do these things. And you're absolutely right, you can't. And the worst thing is you don't know how. So you're not seeing, I just need to go and take a step back and go and practice my rock rolls. I should probably go and do some squats because I'm not strong enough to get up and over that rock. I know how to do it. I just don't have the strength for something that's quite that steep or whatever it is. But when you're in that 25%, you can see it. Outside of that, it messes with everything, and you start to develop bad habits. As human beings, we can manipulate ourselves into being able to succeed in a lot of places. And the last thing I'll say is when it comes to the Spanish, it's quite funny because my husband's like failing in certain places in the Spanish lessons. And he's like, yeah, but they'll understand what I mean. I don't need to get that right. Duolingo should have let that pass. He's feeling like he's not ever going to get these certain things. So therefore, it's like he wants to give up on learning it properly. And so he's going to start developing these bad habits in order for him to feel successful, which I think really speaks to those are the places where he's dropped below that 60% and he's just given up. He hasn't. Just an example. He's doing great.
And I think exactly what you're talking about there is that everyone learns differently. Everybody has different ways that work better for them and different situations that work better and different levels of pushing themselves. Each person's 80% is going to be different, and it's going to change on any given day based on the myriad of variables that are in our lives. And so it's really super important to know yourself and to know how you learn best and to know when to take breaks and when to push yourself. And all of that is learning and trial and error. And the key to that, though, is not comparing yourself to anybody else. If he was comparing himself and his Spanish skills to your Spanish skills, he'd probably be even more frustrated at that point. But it's also how he learns. I remember in German class, I had a terrible time with the whole gender thing, and I just labeled everything das because it sounded like a good idea. And I had the same struggle, and it was just my brain. At that point, it was really based on memory and rote memory. You just had to remember it. It's like a lot of the rules in English. Like, you just have to remember it. And a lot of that will come with time and usage. And so sometimes it's important not to beat yourself up because you feel like there's that one little skill that you just can't quite master. And the harder you push on that, the less your body and your physiology is going to be able to figure it out. So sometimes if you just let it be, it'll sort itself out and you don't have to work so dang hard pushing on it. And you can make it to the point where you'll figure it out. And some days it just clicks. I know I've had those experiences riding the horses. It's like I can't seem to get myself coordinated to save my life. And then one day I get on and it's like, oh, that's what that's supposed to be like. Who knew?
And it is fascinating. Last week I felt really good doing this workout. And then I went for a run yesterday and the run felt great. And then I did my workout this morning and I was hating on her the whole time. Like, I don't want to do any of this. This is really hard today. Like module 1 was hard, not just module 2, 3, 4, and 5, but it started hard. It's really interesting because, as you say, it's like, okay, where am I in my cycle? Nope, that's not it. Did I eat enough? Did I sleep enough? What's going on? And it's probably because I went for a run yesterday and then did a whole lot of heavy lifting and cleaning and didn't really have that much of a day off. And so today I'm just feeling a little bit slower. One more example is that we quite often look at things in little silos. So today's today, and last week that exercise was just fine. Why would it be harder today? But there are no silos. And the same thing with my working. It's like I get up in the morning, we're managing a lodge. I've got to talk to people. I need to help serve breakfast. And there's a bunch of things I need to do, which make it so I don't get to my desk and doing my other stuff soon enough, which makes me feel like, well, I should get up earlier. I should be more productive. And I start comparing my daily schedule to a daily schedule that didn't involve talking to people in the morning and helping Ian clean up and saying goodbye and doing the things that need to be done as part of this job. They're impacting somewhere else in my life, and that's impacting something else. Me doing the podcast today means that it's impacting other jobs. But if I'm looking at them all in silos, it starts to feel like I'm failing everywhere. But if I actually look at all of these things, it's not like I'm sitting around eating bonbons. I'm doing the whole time. Maybe not getting anywhere where I want to go fast, but that really does require me to really think about this process in all of the different places that I'm doing things, and not go really hard in any area, because it's going to have a ripple effect through every area.
Yeah. And I think that's what's so important is just evaluating where you are in the moment and working from that point. Like, okay, so you get into the workout this morning and it's super hard. What can you do to adjust that so that you don't feel like you're dying and don't feel like you're cursing the instructor the entire time? What do you need to adjust? I used to get such a kick out of it when I was helping out in the yoga studio years ago when I lived on the other side of town. There was a guy and his wife that would come to class a lot, and I was always in the back by the door so I could help people if they came in late and lock the door and everything. And this guy would often set his mat next to mine, and I loved to be next to him in class because he was super strong and fit. And so we would be doing something and I'd look over and he's making it harder. We'd be in the middle of planks or something and he's back there raising one toe off the ground alternatingly the whole time we're supposed to be holding a plank. And me, of course, I'm crying next to him, just trying to do what the instructor's telling me to do. And he's over there making it harder, you know? I used to get such a kick out of it because he was going to his edge. And he wasn't worried about the rest of the class. He wasn't worried about what anybody else was doing. He was working within his own bounds and his edge. Through yoga, I messed up my rhomboids for a while because I was trying to do planks and I didn't have enough strength to do planks. And so when we would go through a sun salutation, instead of doing a plank, I'd do a cat-cow sequence. I had no shame around the fact that while everybody else is abs straight, like in a plank, I'm over there doing a happy little cat-cow. It felt great. I loved it. And then I'd meet the rest of the group back in a downward dog. And that was my edge at that point in time because my shoulders were a wreck. And I knew if I didn't take care of that, then I was going to keep injuring myself. And then it was going to come to a point where I couldn't do other things in my life. It was going to affect more than just yoga. And that was going to be a bigger problem for me. And so, like, knowing where your edge is on a day-to-day basis, and when you find it, not worrying about what it looked like 2 days ago or comparing yourself to then, just knowing that's your edge today for whatever reason. You don't even have to know the reason. Sometimes it's better not to even worry about what the reason is. But if we think we have to go super hard all the time, I've seen yoga instructors get injured that way because they're not listening to their own limits in their body and they're pushing too hard. They're doing hot flow vinyasa multiple times a day kind of thing. And I'm like, well, that's going to take you somewhere that your body's eventually going to say, nope, we can't do this anymore. It doesn't work like this. So being able to listen internally and not have shame around what you are or aren't doing at any given moment is key. And sometimes you run over that edge. Sometimes you run over it and you do injure yourself, or you find yourself set back, sore for more than 3 days. And that's when you know you did too much. And at that point, like, okay, so we regroup and you listen better for the edge next time.
You know, really, it depends on the goals as to your success. I always say to people that you've got to push the limits in order to find the limits. One of the mistakes we make in life is that we actually don't go to the limits. So then we don't really know where it is. And we don't know what hard is if we haven't actually found it, right? So finding that is important. And then we explore. The whole journey as a human being is exploring and pushing the limit and then coming back from it, finding that edge and then moving away from the edge. We don't want to be constantly on the cliff edge the entire time. And there's absolutely nothing wrong, as we said in the beginning, pushing hard. Yeah, jumping up and going and doing a race when you're not maybe quite prepared for it. Well, you know what? If you feel like you can do that, there's nothing wrong with that. If I was going to be a professional kayaker, it's not how I'm going to do every race. Like, in order to improve, I'm going to have to do things slightly differently. So there's kind of in the moment, and then there's our long-term success. things. And then there's the day to day, as you were saying, right? It's like some days you're there, some days you're not there. And I love that the guy was in the back of the class. So no one else except for you next to him could see that. He wasn't putting himself in the front of the class. Everyone needed to compare, and he was putting the instructor off or any of those things. He was just gently doing his thing. Some days he felt like a rock star. Sometimes maybe he didn't, right? Today I'm feeling slow. So I'm going to gently try and get as much done as I possibly can and possibly go and take a nap. In order for me to get to my goal faster, I have to push as hard as possible, has been the way that I have done things for a very long time. And I have really had that no pain, no gain. And the no pain mentally and physically. Like, you've got to go as hard as possible, push through and make it happen, and just ignore the signs. And I will tell you that that's not a long term strategy for success. It's okay.
Yeah.
It works for a period of time. We all have times in our lives where we need to push, but then we also have to schedule the times that we don't. Right now, July, August, September is busy in the lodge. So my hubby's getting up every day and doing breakfast. He's got rooms to clean every single day. Then we're doing dinners. It's hard. It's 3 months. And then there's going to be downtime. This is not a strategy for a 12 months. There's absolutely no way we could do this for much longer than we have to. But you can sprint for short periods of time. You just have to make sure that you've got a strategy that allows for taking time off and chilling out and allowing that rest time. Because, as Ginny said at the beginning, just know it does not have to be hard in order for you to get the results that you're looking for.
Yeah. I think the key is the balance piece of that, is knowing how to balance and how to work with balance as a dynamic, active thing, not as a static thing. If you've ever tried to hold a standing pose in yoga, you know that balance takes work. It's not a passive activity. And my biggest story that really drove this point home for me was I spent some time with a riding instructor in Florida working with her. And I think I had about 4 or 5 days with her. And the deal was that I would help her work the horses that she had to work that day. And then that afternoon, when we were done with that, she would give me a riding lesson. And this was a number of years ago when I was not riding really. I still had my office job, so I was definitely not as active as I am now, as crazy as that sounds. I know that we have talked so much about balance and so much about body coordination and all of that. And so here I am working. I can't keep up with the lady. I can't keep up with her now, even though I'm more fit now than I was then. And so here I am trying to help her, and she's got 6, 8 horses to work, and then we're going to go ride. And so I'm helping her do all this work during the day. And then we get to the afternoon and I get on and ride because that's what I want to do. And so day 2 comes along and I'm like, oof, like I'm starting to feel it. Like it's a lot. And day 3 comes and I'm like sitting super ginger. I work my leg over the saddle and I'm sitting down real easy because everything is hurting. And by the end of that ride, I started to feel better. Day 4 came and I'm expecting the same thing when I go to get on and I sit down and it's like there's no pain. And that is what told me that I was in balance. I was using my body effectively and efficiently and well coordinated because my body was responding by recovering super fast. The people that talk about leg day in the gym, day 3, day 4, they're still limping around like they went through a war or something. But my body was recovering faster because it was in balance. The work was pushing me, but it was in balance. And that is the biggest key to knowing that you're getting it right, is when you're able to sustain it and continue to go on and adapt and adjust and feel better in the outcome rather than worse. That's when you know you have the sweet spot of the amount of effort and the amount of pushing that you're doing, that you're in that nice 60-80% range.
Yeah. I love all of that. And I think Unless you have anything more to add, I think that's summed up quite beautifully. This is more of a questioning yourself process. What do you believe? And how is it working out for you? And by actually questioning this concept, can you bring a little bit of ease? Can you bring a little bit more gentleness? Can you take on that yogi mind frame of working with your body and working with yourself and acknowledging what's really going on for you and allowing yourself to work within those boundaries whilst at the same time working to the edge and pushing yourself. And I think that's really what we're working on here. Before we wrap up, I really want to share some exciting news. I have my first retreat in Baja, Cerritos, Mexico. So Cerritos is 45 minutes north of Cabo. We have some amazing biking. It's going to be a bike, yoga, surf retreat. We're going to do a beautiful full moon ride. We're going to have some clinics. We've got surf lessons lined up. We're going to have a sunrise, sunset yoga practice. We've got cacao ceremonies. Mark your calendars, January 12th to 17th. We only have 12 spots. It's ladies only. And this is going to be amazing. We're going to have epic food. And the location that we are is minutes walk to the beach. So you'll be able to wander to the beach. We can set you up with massages. We're going to eat great tacos and all of the things. So if you've been dying to go to Mexico, if you're wanting to bring your bike down there, it's beginner, intermediate, advanced. We're going to be working with all levels. So feel free to reach out, ask questions. But more details are to come. Stay tuned. And if you would like to get yourself on the waiting list to find out and be first to know, please send me a message. You can DM me. You can email me, natasha@kootenaigateway.com. This is going to be amazing. And I am so excited. This is one of my things that I've been pushing to make happen, but I've been doing it really gently. And I actually worked with some partners on this one because I knew that if I left it up to myself, I wasn't going to get it done. So the way that I made it easier and didn't go to the hard level, I hit my edge every time I tried to do it on my own. So I reached out, I got partners, and January 12th to the 17th, we are going to be running this event. So hit me up for more information. With that little advertisement over, I am Natasha Lockey. I'm a performance, life, and mountain bike coach. I'm here to help you reach your limits, reach your goals, make your dreams happen in any area of your life. I really work through the modality of how your physical pursuits really inform how you can move through challenges in your day-to-day life. How can you bring the dream that you want to be living? How can we narrow that gap and make it where you're living every day? So you can find me, Natasha Lockey, on Facebook, Betty Go Hard on Instagram, and on the web. What about you, Ginny?
Yeah, I'm Ginny Branden. I'm an animal communicator and energy healer for animals and their people too. If you are having challenges with your pet relationship or just want to get to know your pet better, let me know. I would love to do a session with you and your pet together and help you guys get into a more harmonious relationship and life. You can find me on the web at soulpetconnections.com and on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube under the same handle. Thank you so much for joining us today on the show. We loved having you along for the ride. You can find Riding in the Weeds on the web at ridingintheweeds.com and on all major podcast platforms, as well as YouTube and Facebook and Instagram under the same handle. We appreciate your likes, comments, and shares. So please let us know if you have any topics you want us to dig into. We would love to explore more. Thank you so much again for joining us. You're doing an amazing job, and have a great day, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. You're doing amazing.